My name is Lisa Fletcher. I contribute to the 2 units in the diploma that focus on writing family history. These units give our students the opportunity to develop skills and gain confidence in writing historical or fictional narratives based on genealogical records. One of the first challenges we faced when designing these units was creating resources that would be valuable to all students. We recognised that some of the students would have collected a great number and variety of records about their ancestors, but that those new to family history might have very few documents to work with when completing their writing exercises. We therefore created a mini online archive of documents about an ancestor that staff and students share for learning activities in the unit. We call this resource the Shoebox. One of my main contributions to the diploma is that the Shoebox contains genealogical records about my ancestor, Margaret Kennedy. Margaret was born in Scotland in the early 1820s and died in Western Victoria in 1905. I first learned of Margaret when my grandmother gave me a shoebox when I was about 13 years old. The original shoebox held newspaper clippings and grainy photographs, family charts in fading copperplate handwriting, and bits and bobs relating to other ancestors. Margaret Kennedy is also a minor but important figure in the history of colonial Victoria, for her role in the gold rush of the early 1850s. The photograph you can see on the slide was taken in 1890 by Melbourne's leading portrait photographers, Johnston, O'Shaughnessy and Co. Sitting for this portrait must have been a strange, possibly uncomfortable experience for Margaret. My ancestors were not from the strata of society typically photographed by Johnston O'Shaughnessy's, whose clients included prominent figures in Melbourne society, governors, even royalty. In 1901, for example, they produced a studio portrait of the Duke of Cornwall and York, who would later become King George V. Margaret's photograph was one of a set of 16, taken at the conclusion of a select committee hearing in Melbourne to try and settle the question of who was the first person to discover gold in Bendigo in 1851. The committee failed to reach a decision, but most historians now agree that Margaret found the first nugget of gold at Bendigo Creek. She appears in books, encyclopedia entries, museum displays, and there are at least 3 public monuments commemorating her or events in which she played a major part. So during the units, I invite students to think of Margaret and her family as their virtual ancestors. Lectures and other learning activities use examples from the Shoebox to model techniques for crafting narratives based on genealogical research. And our students may choose to use Margaret or any of the people, places or events in the Shoebox as the basis for their writing exercises or for their assignments. I'm sure that Margaret would have preferred the cash reward that the Select Committee decided not to bestow, but I'm pleased that I've been able to play a role in keeping her story alive in our writing family history units.